My name is Anna Lazarova. I am a practicing lawyer and lecturer in intellectual property and information technology law at Sofia University St. Kliment Ohridski. Today, I would like to present the study of 100 contracts launched by Knowledge Rights 21. The study was conducted by Digital Republic, a Bulgarian digital rights association, as part of the KR21 program funded by Arcadia and governed by the International Federation of Library Associations, IFLA. The data visualizations were created by Data for Good, a Bulgarian data altruism NGO. The study looks at how licensing contracts affect the ability of libraries to carry out their public missions. It combines qualitative and quantitative analysis of licensing terms for copyrighted content used by public and academic libraries. Between February and August 2023, Digital Republic analyzed 100 contracts between publishers and information providers, such as scientific databases on the one hand, and libraries or their parent institutions and library consortia on the other. The contracts came from libraries in the KR21 and IFLA networks and information consortia across 14 Council of Europe countries, together with publicly available publisher terms. While the sample is not exhaustive, it provides useful insight into current licensing practices. The findings are organized around basic library activities, including personal use, teaching, research, accessibility for people with disabilities, archiving, and interlibrary document supply. The study also examines broader contractual issues such as governing law, time limits, and user restrictions. Contract clauses are compared against a common benchmark, mainly EU copyright exceptions. The full table of the results is included in the report and is also available online in an interactive format. To ensure maximum transparency of the evaluation process, the table includes excerpts from the relevant contract clauses. To protect confidentiality, details on libraries and publishers in the language of these clauses were pseudonymized. The study identified three major trends. First, when contracts explicitly address the relationship between the contract and statutory exceptions under copyright law, most state that the contract takes priority over uses permitted by law. This means that licensing contracts regularly exclude rights that libraries, researchers, educational institutions would normally have under the law. At the same time, many contracts do not clearly address the relationship or contain unclear, conflicting wording, creating legal uncertainty. Second, most contracts only allow a limited number of standard library activities and remain silent on many activities that are essential. The permission in contracts rarely match the language and scope of copyright exceptions available under the law. As a result, libraries often have to compare contract terms with national law and negotiate additional rules, which creates uncertainty and discourages the use of copyrighted materials in the public interest. To give an example, with one of the categories of the assessment, the study looks at contractual terms for text and data mining, or TDM. Since 2019, EU law has included a mandatory copyright exception that allows research organizations and cultural heritage institutions to carry out TDM for scientific research on materials that they can lawfully access. This exception under Article 3 of the Copyright in the Digital Single Market Directive cannot be overridden by contract or technological protection measures. And for this reason, Article 3 was used as a benchmark for assessing the contracts. The results for this particular category show that only 9 out of 100 contracts allow TDM, 31 contracts explicitly or implicitly prohibit it, including 11 that allow only limited forms of text and data mining. 6 contracts contain unclear provisions. 41 contracts do not mention TDM at all. However, 11 of those contain a general contractual override provision, meaning that any activity not expressly permitted by the contract is prohibited. These findings show a clear trend. Many academic publishers continue to restrict or block text and data mining, even though research organizations and libraries should have been able to rely on Article 3 since at least 2021. And the third important finding of the study concerns the governing law. In licensing agreements, most contracts apply the law of the publisher's country of origin, often the United States or the United Kingdom, rather than the country of the library. This can prevent libraries from relying on the copyright exceptions available under their own national law, including imperative exceptions, and makes it more difficult for them to assess whether contract terms are legally enforceable. Based on these findings, the study makes three major recommendations. First, national legislators should ensure that copyright exceptions cannot be overridden by contracts, providing greater legal certainty for libraries and educational institutions. Second, further research should identify legal and policy measures that protect public interest institutions from the effect of override of imperative statutory exception by way of choice of law clauses. Third, libraries and national consortia should negotiate for licensing agreements to be governed by domestic law and develop standard contract terms that protect rights guaranteed under national copyright law. In conclusion, I would like to invite you to explore the interactive live table and examine the contractual provisions and the assessment behind each finding in more detail. Thank you for your attention.